So now I'm going to sew the side of my pillowcase, matching it up at the 5/8 inch line, having my fabric start at the second line. And once I begin, I'm going to go forward 3 to 5 stitches, back stitch, holding down that button, stitching in reverse, and then I'm going to continue. Now, when I get down to the corner, what I want to have happen is I'm going to pivot, and when I pivot, I want to be ready at my 5/8 line as I turn it. So this line just at the bottom of your needle stitch plate, not the edge, but the one just up from that, right underneath that 5/8 inch line, that's going to be the edge that we're going to. So once I'm at that edge, I'm going to put my needle down and pick up my presser foot. This allows me to rotate, and my next stitch is, I'm a little short, but I'll be okay if I just overcompensate for it and just come back to that 5/8 inch line. Now that I'm at the end, I'm going to backstitch again right here on this fold. And I want to make sure that I'm actually going right up to the edge of the fabric. I don't want there to be a hole in my stitching where it's not being held. So again, you're going to take some scissors and trim off the extra hairy threads here. All right, the last step that I need to do with my pillowcase is I need to do something with the edges of my fabric. It's not too bad right now, but you can see that it's starting to fray a little bit. And as I would use this, take it on and off my pillow, wash it, there's going to be a lot more fraying that's going to happen, to the point that this seam allowance is the distance between the edge and your stitching line. This is eventually going to fray to the point that it gets to the stitching line, and then it completely just unravels and breaks. So I want you to have this for a long time and it to hold up. So what I'm going to do is now push the number 2 button. This is going to put it into a zigzag stitch function. And it's going to adjust your stitch length to a little bit shorter, and it's going to have a little bit wider of a zigzag up here. So we're at a stitch width of 3. That's meaning it's going to be 3 millimeters wide. Now on this one, what I want to do is have a zigzag stitch right on the very edge of my fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my fabric with the inside toe of the presser foot. So I should be able to see an entire feed dog underneath. And as I do this one, I don't need to backstitch. Zigzag, you don't need backstitching. And you can see that as I'm going, I'm trying to get really close to the edge. Sometimes I even want my needle to go off the edge of the fabric. That way I know that it's being close enough to the edge that it's going to be grabbing the edge of the fabric, and it's tightening it up so that that fraying won't happen. Those loose threads cannot come out. So I'm going to do it the entire way down, all the way along that edge. Lining it up with the inside toe of my presser foot. I'm making a video. get to the corner, I can still pivot. At this point, it's not quite as big of a deal if you use the correct pivoting technique. You can go off the edge and cut your threads, or you can just continue on. Again, just keeping it right on the outside edge of your presser foot. Sorry, inside edge of your presser foot. Again, I don't need to backstitch, but once I get to the end, I can just pull my fabric out, cut it loose, and once again, trim off any loose threads. If there are little pieces of threads that are coming off of your pillowcase, if you want to cut those off, you can. It's fine. They're going to happen for the first little bit until that stitching really holds it all in. All right, then you're going to turn it right side out, and you're done.